I hope you can see my screen. Okay, so I'll be doing a brief presentation on positioning yourself for PhD scholarships as an international student, strategies for securing funding opportunities abroad successfully. So that'll be the presentation. Let me proceed to the next slide. Okay, I'm having some issues with all the nice slides. Let me check. So, all right. I guess you'll be admitting people as they come in.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I'll just do a bit of introduction and the objective for this presentation. So understanding PhD scholarship is the focus, like I already said. At this webinar, this session, we focus on different types of PhD scholarships and the eligibility criteria for international students. What are those things that you would need on your profile or your CV for you to qualify for funding opportunities for PhD scholarship? So I'm hoping that everyone that watches this program, whether the live recording or the recorded one, will learn how to craft compelling applications and avoid common pitfalls during the application process. And then there'll be opportunities for questions and answers to discuss further. Just a little bit about me. I'm originally from Delta State, Nigeria. We say that a lot when you're abroad because you change nationality to have dual citizenship eventually. So my bachelor's degree was in business administration at Lagos State University, where I graduated with a second class upper. And I proceeded through my master's in organizational behavior, master's of science at University of Lagos, where I made a distinction. And then I got a PhD scholarship fully funded at the University of Sheffield for PhD in management, and focused on work psychology in the Institute of Work Psychology, Sheffield University Management School, University of Sheffield. Then eventually, in my current role at the University of Leicester, I got the certification on postgraduate certificate of academic and professional practice. I'm also a fellow of the Higher Education Academy, where I work as a senior lecturer in leadership. So that's just a little bit about my background. So it might be helpful for this discussion. Okay, the next slide, understanding scholarships. What do we mean when we say scholarship, and why does scholarship matter? So scholarship is saying that you are not going to pay for your PhD, that someone else will, or someone else should. So we'll talk about all the types of scholarship in a minute, but why does it even matter? Financial accessibility. So it reduces your financial barriers because some of these scholarships cover your tuition, your living expenses, your research expenses for international students. So it pretty much makes life completely easy for you. There's a feeling that only people who have full scholarship, for example, can have that other people may not experience. There's just that satisfaction, that joy. It just takes away all financial responsibilities from you studying. So it's amazing. It matters a lot because you don't spend the time. You don't have to do anything. You just have to focus on your studies and graduate. So it has academic and professional prestige. For you to say, I'm a theft fund scholar, I'm a university scholar, it matters a lot for your career advancement and growth. So it enhances your academic profile, it confers that prestige, you can brag about it, you can talk about it. Also improving your career prospects worldwide. So once you put in your CV that you got a fully funded scholarship, that already sends a message and a signal to recruiters or other academics, or any person for that matter that you are excellent for your studies to have been funded. There's something special about you. It already sells a signal of excellence and prestige. So it can also open door for global research collaboration, access to international research network, encouraging innovation and global collaboration. For example, for people who apply in the UK after their PhD, they apply for global talent visa. It's always on the basis of their PhD, but not just their PhD, but the fact that their PhD was on scholarship. That's already your first bragging right or bragging claim that you want to be a global talent, you want to have the global talent visa because you were funded. Because the funding bodies already know the cost of a PhD scholarship, for example. So they know that for you to have gotten that scholarship, it's a grant, it's an award, it talks about excellence. So it matters a lot because it just opens unbelievable doors for you. I held the global talent visa recently before I moved to permanent residency. So I know what it means, and all is still coming from scholarship. Then the last one, career advancement impact. It empowers students to influence policy and advance careers in their home and abroad. So having scholarship matters a whole lot. Make no mistake about it. Even if you have the money to pay for your PhD from your pockets, or your family can afford it, if you can secure scholarship for your PhD, it just changes the game completely. All right, so let's move on to types of PhD scholarship. I want to make the presentation as brief and interesting, and then we can do questions and answers. So we have different types of scholarship. So there's the fully funded scholarship. So this is the type I got, which covers all your expenses, including tuition and living costs, offered by governments, universities, and research councils. So I'll explain this a bit more. So for PhD fully funded scholarship, it's usually tuition fee plus stipend. So when I got a PhD scholarship in 2018, I got all tuition fee covered for 3 years, which was at that time £16,800 school fees. So 16,800 first year pay, 16,800 for 3 years. So I didn't have to pay a dime. And then the university pays me my stipend. And at that time, they were paying once in 3 months. So when I resumed October 1st, I opened the bank account, sent my bank account to the university. By October 2nd or 3rd, they already paid me money for 3 months. So then the annual pay was 14,777. Yeah. Then eventually, it should be moving up every year based on inflation. So at the point, it was £15,000. And that translated to like 3,600, 3,800, something like that every quarter. So at the beginning of October, for example, I get £3,800 paid into my account at once. What they are saying is that if you blow that money, that's on you. So that's your maintenance for 3 months. So you pay your rent, you take care of yourself, buy all the things you need, and settle down for your PhD. The next quarter they pay, and that money, I have to be honest with you, very sweet. once it comes into your account, you know that's the feeling it brings. Scholarship. Everybody I know that had PhD scholarship money say, scholarship money is sweet. So that's for fully funded scholarship. And it can be offered by governments. For example, in Nigeria, we have PTDF, Petroleum Development Trust Fund. Then there's also test fund, but test fund is through universities. You probably have to be a lecturer in the university, and then you apply. It's very, very competitive, very rigorous for you to get the recommendation to get scholarship from Nigeria. But if you are able to get from research council, like what we do, White Rose Doctoral College, or the UK Universities Research Council in England, or University Scholarship from the UK, those are extremely very prestigious scholarship. And let me explain, for example, the difference between getting a scholarship from Nigeria and getting a scholarship directly, for example, from the UK. Now, the UK is more prestigious because it means that for the UK government, through the universities or through the research council, to pay for your PhD, you are really good, very competitive. And then your money is not subjected to Nigeria exchange rate drama. So you are getting your money in pounds. You are a university scholar. But if you are getting your funding from Tech Fund, for example, or from PCDF, I don't mean to sound anything negative or bad about Nigeria, but of course you know the situation. Maybe the money can be delayed, and the exchange rate in which they approved at the time could change, and there's so many things that goes on there. A friend of mine, at a point, he was the one looking for money in the UK to add up to the scholarship money from Tech Fund, because the money they approved at one particular exchange rate of 500, it had changed, and they were still paying him the initial amount of 500, so he could not really pay the school fees. So the drama is just too much. But good luck to those who that's what they are able to get, Tech Fund, PTDF, whatever, even the Niger Delta, the NDDC, Niger Delta Development Commission. I applied for this scholarship. I didn't apply for Tech Fund because I wasn't employed as a university lecturer in Nigeria. But I applied for Commonwealth Scholarship, I applied for PTDF, and I applied for NDDC. So I was invited for Commonwealth Scholarship. I went to Abuja from Lagos. Nothing came out. When you see the crowd, just the faith, little faith you have, will disappear. For example, I was there the day they invited me, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I was waiting. There was no organization, there was no system to which they would attend to people. Stay in this queue, verify here, do this. And for there was no slot. I was in the queue. I was on the queue from one queue to the queue was never moving. Best believe, this was 2017. I stayed in the queue from 8 a.m. in the morning. Guess when they attended to me? 11:30 p.m. in the night. I kid you not. I was the second to the last person to leave that place. 11:30 p.m. in the night, and I got to the finally got where I stayed that night at after 12. So you tell me the kind of hope you expect. What do you expect to get from that kind of thousands of people that I was the second to the last, and there was no basis. I was just on the queue. Nothing came out of it. I've applied for Commonwealth Scholarship. I went, that was the, that's the Commonwealth Scholarship I was just talking about, right? PTDF, similar experience. Then I applied for NDDC. By the time they invited me for NDDC in exams in Port Harcourt, I already got a scholarship from the UK, so I didn't bother to go. I even know that one would be dramatic because they were inviting me to go and write exam. If you first go and write GMAT or write something, then maybe they will now shortlist and also come back for part 2 in the same Port Harcourt. I just don't want all that drama. So getting a PhD directly from the UK saved me all that stress. And then it takes care of everything. And I don't have any bond whereby I need to go back to Nigeria to work for the money they're giving me. You know how it's done now. Don't let me stress you with all this gist. And that's for fully funded scholarship. But for partial scholarship, this is maybe covering just your tuition fee, but it doesn't cover your stipend. So yes, something I've read is better than what I know how we say it. So your 16,800 or 20,000 pounds of school fees, they'll pay for it for the 3 years, but they don't give you any money for maintenance. So they and imagine how much I told you I was getting that at 15,000 pounds a year, 3,800 in 3 months, 1,002 every month. You don't get that money, so your maintenance is on you, which means you have to now try to go and work and get money to survive while still focusing on the PhD. It's good, but it's still stressful. Or if you are married, your partner has to go and work, cover for the family, how you guys can survive for that period. This is something. But most scholarship, most partial scholarship, usually take care of tuition fee and don't take care of your stipend. It will be difficult for you to see a scholarship where they'll say they'll give you stipend, then you pay for your tuition fee. in the question again, can you afford the tuition? If it's £18,000, £20,000, and then why would they not pay that one and be giving you 1,200 every month? So most of them, even GTAs in my university, they take care of the tuition, and then he said that for the partial post, sometimes they can give you some monthly stipend, but that money will not be the standard rates. So for example, university can say on our GTA package, they give you £1,000 every month. It's a relief, but that's not the standard approved rate by Research Council. So the standard approved rate taking care of inflation now could be like £1,500. Because when I see scholarship adverts now, I see £20,000. But 6 years ago, it was 15,000, 14,777. Later, scholarship 15,000. Later, 16,000. Later, 17,000. Later, 8. So there are some universities in London now, 22 or 24,000. So that because inflation has come on board. So if any university is giving you £1,000 a month as your stipend, it really doesn't cover your needs, because you need to rent your accommodation, you need to take care of yourself, and £1,000 per month would be 12,000 a year. Whereas the standard rates now are 20,000, 22,000. So that partial stipend is something, but it's not enough, because you still need to go and work your payments and take care of yourself. Anyway, I've spent a lot of time to talk about fully funded scholarship and partial scholarship, how it works. And even without asking you, I'm sure you know that the sweetest is your fully funded scholarship. All tuition paid, all expenses paid in terms of the stipend. And then you are good, you are calm, you enjoy your PhD experience. Then the last one, you have external funding sources, which is it could be sponsored by NGOs, foundations, industry partners, supporting specific research and demographics. These are not very easy scholarships to get. Because when I was looking for scholarship, then somebody said, go and meet NGOs, go and meet private institutions. The question, where will you find them? What is your proposal about? How would you go and start approaching NGOs for them to sponsor your PhD from Nigeria to the UK? You have that connection. What would you offer them? The kind of amount you are looking for. Would anybody want to give it to you in the name of you're an NGO or a foundation? And don't forget, back in our country, let's be honest, people don't really place much premium on scholarship, even the rich and the mighty. How many of the rich men and the rich organizations have scholarship packages for students? Even scholars, people who are very intelligent, finish with first class and distinction in the universities, and they are studying for their PhD in call on the name of the universities. Do they have internal funding and scholarships for students in Unilag, in Unit, learning that give their own internal candidate scholarship? Despite the fact that the money they will give them will be very small, maybe 500,000 naira. Do they have those packages? So not to talk of now looking for all by yourself, looking for external funding sources. So this most times the best bet is to get university fully funded scholarship from the UK, from your destination points, and you save yourself. You save yourself a lot of headache studying for your PhD. So we said so much about types of PhD scholarship. I'll move on now to eligibility and strategic positioning. How do you position yourself? What are the things that they are looking for you to get PhD scholarship? At this point, let me make one very serious important statement. I would think personally that PhD scholarship is a reward for many years of hard work in your life without you knowing that you were working for a PhD scholarship. I'll pass this statement in a few minutes. It's a reward, not a gift. It's a reward for hard work. Many years of hard work, sometimes 10, 15, 20 years of hard work in your life that you never knew when you were working hard and laboring and burning midnight candles. I was literally sleeping at Yabatek at some seasons of my life with mosquito bites, reading, studying. For all those years, I did not know that it will come up together as a PhD scholarship, and my whole life should change. So that's the point I'm making. So let's look at these key eligibility criteria: academic excellence, strong academic record, and high GPA are essential for funding. How do I mean? Let me explain it in three ways. You need a first class in your bachelor's, distinction in your master's. That's academic excellence. Once you get these two, you are already a scholar, positioning yourself for fully funded PhD scholarship. Alternatively, you can get second class upper in your first degree, distinction in your master's. That's what I got. Or switch it around. First class in your first degree, you don't have a distinction, but you have a PhD grade, 4.0 out of 5.0. So either you get the two, first class and distinction, or you get one of the two, first class, no distinction, but PhD grade. 2-1 plus distinction. If you get a second class upper and a PhD grade, no first class, no distinction, it's getting tougher for you because you have not demonstrated that excellence in the 2 degrees. It's not impossible to get a PhD scholarship with just a second class upper and a high CGPA in your master's, but something you have to augment for it. An extremely strong proposal, research experience, strong recommendation letters, and then extra luck. Because if every other person that is applying for that scholarship gets all the things that you have, including a first class, what do you expect? They will give that person. So academic excellence is non-negotiable. That's why I said you must have worked for academic excellence in your first degree many years ago, labor to get a first class, labor to get distinction. Then eventually you find out that this excellence is now in your favor in terms of scholarship. Research potential. Quality research proposal and your prior academic work can demonstrate research capacity. So eligibility, your proposal has to be strong. That means you have to have been trained writing a world-class proposal. When world-class proposal, your proposal has to be the best, has to be extremely good for you to secure scholarship, because that's the base, that's your legal, that's your document that gives you access. A poorly developed proposal, even if you get a first class of distinction, nobody will listen to you. Some people can get first class and they don't have a research skill. So what other eligibility criteria? Your English language proficiency, IELTS can help you. Then also relevant research experience. For example, I worked at Lagos Business School, where I get research and publishing and experience and training. Then consider supervisor alignment. Matching supervisors and research group is key for project-specific scholarship. So as a lecturer now here in the UK, I get invitations from students, potential students, asking, "Oh, can you supervise my work? I'm so from Saudi Arabia. I'm so from China. I'm this and this from Dubai. I'm from Nigeria. I'm from everything." And so you see in the introductory email, I read your profile. I like your area on organizational leadership and followership, which I think aligns with my area. Then when I now look at the proposal they've sent me, they'll now send me project management, leadership. But you have just said my scholarship aligns with your area. And I'm looking at your proposal and there's nothing aligning there. Are you lying to me? Is my eye paining me? So you can't do misalignment and just be approaching any supervisor that just supervise my work when your topic is not in their area of expertise. So they'll just dismiss it. Because these are some of the things to consider when you are choosing for scholarship.
Hello, Doctor. God bless. Sorry to cut you. I think there's an echo from your end. I don't know what might have led to that.
Any device on that can bring any echo.
Okay, I'll check my side here if it's coming from here. Thank you.
Okay. I don't have any device that's on that can echo anything. So So I don't know if it's better now. I just muted myself. Okay. So let's continue. Strategic positioning. How do you position yourself for scholarship for as an international student? Early start. Beginning the application process early ensures enough time to research deadlines and requirements thoroughly. For example, you must know the window, academic window. Now, how do we know the academic window? I'll use UK typically because I'm here. School resumes September, October every year. Master students can come in September and then PhD students can start 1st of October. If you are looking for a PhD admission and scholarship, you must take note of this window, which means recruitment for the next academic year technically begins. So when I prepared my PhD proposal, when I was in Nigeria, at this time of the year, September to October, I was continuing my PhD proposal. Beginning of October, I started targeting sending to potential supervisors. So by October middle, they already started confirming to me, I like your proposal. Can you make this correction? Can you apply? So I applied before the year ended. You have to apply before the year end, between September to November, December, when you are dealing with UK. Why? Many of the funding opportunities close in January or February. You get the window now. So I got admission for my PhD. I got invitation for interview in January. I had interview 1st of February. They gave me an offer later February. They were now discussing funding. I applied for the funding late 31st December. So you need to target all the universities and understand their funding cycle, their funding window. They are closing. Some of them could be in February, some of them could be in March, some of them could be in April. But you have to start from the year before. Then when I got my offer, I got 2 offers at that time in February. Then they were processing the funding. Eventually, funding came August, July, August, for me to resume in October. But see, I started the year before. But if your proposal is ready in June and you want to resume your PhD in October, it's too close. You didn't start early. Nobody's going to interview you between July, August, give you scholarship for you to resume in October, except you are lucky. Most universities would have closed their application process. They know the students that are coming in by that time. So starting early, understanding the cycle, build a strong profile. So your academic CV, research proposal, your personal statement, all of these things must be very strong. Give it to somebody to review for you. Try to work with an academic. Then networking, understanding the system, networking, reaching out to potential supervisors. But I have to say something about reaching out to potential supervisors. Do not approach supervisors when you are not ready. Don't just bump into them and send them emails casually. My name is so I had a draft, a template then that I used to approach potential supervisors. Long document, well written, and you have to be sure that you are ready. Guess what? I once approached a professor in Sheffield, the place where I eventually did my PhD, and I wrote her, I want to study for my PhD. My topic is on destructive leadership. She told me to send my proposal to her. My proposal was not ready. I was not confident with the quality of my proposal. I did not send it to her. I never had the chance to tell her again. But guess what? By the time I was ready, the following year, I got admission in the same university. That professor was the head of the Institute of Work Psychology, where I studied in my PhD. She became my internal examiner in my confirmation. She became my internal examiner in my viva. I never told her that I sent you a proposal then for you to be my supervisor, because eventually she was not my supervisor. But that taught me a lesson. Because the people you are sending random proposals to, or you were sending emails to, and you are not ready. What if one of them eventually becomes your examiner or your supervisor? And you had already created a wrong impression that you were not, you send them random emails or weak emails when you were not really ready. So networking and knowing strategically making requests for potential supervision is very important. You just need training. I thought I was going to do a very simple short presentation, but you could see for me to make it rich, I need to explain in details, and this thing takes time. It takes a lot of investment in training, and this is expensive. I'll get there. So leverage your personal story when drafting your personal statement. Make it robust. Make it rich. Sell your unique story and your unique perspective. Even your challenges. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. To say you are coming from struggling financial position and family, and you have this dream and this desire to study in the top 100 universities in the world. You believe in yourself. Tell your unique story. I move on now to the next slide. I'm getting ready to wrap up there. And I take all kinds of questions. Application best practices. So very research question. This is in the development of a tax proposal. Start with a clear and concise research question addressing significant issue. Developing an award-winning proposal is not a joke. It takes time, especially when you are an international student. The way Nigerian students write the educational training is different from the UK, for example. So if you have not moved to the UK to study for your masters, to write a dissertation in the UK, you might be struggling with how to write a compelling PhD proposal. For example, in Nigeria, we write more descriptive writing, but in the UK is more critical writing. So how do you write a compelling proposal without training? At least at the time I got PhD scholarship, I'd written 5 proposals. I kept changing, I kept improving. I got so many rejections, about 60 rejections in 3 years and a half. So there are some universities that applied to me and said, send your documents. And then when I'm preparing to send reference letter, they reply me the next day and say, don't bother to send any documents again. We are rejecting your application because it is not strong. What do you mean my application is not strong? So the proposal is not appealing, because I used to write seven research questions, seven research objectives, 7 research hypotheses. Nobody has time for that. If it's just one research question, let it be one and let it be strong. Let the literature review the background, gap analysis be robust. You know what you are talking about, and you have engaged the literature critically. How many students write their dissertation themselves in motherland of Africa to have a compelling proposal that can win scholarship? Training again is important. So identifying your literature gap, your methodology and the feasibility of the project, and then impact and alignment with even the funders and the supervisors' interest. It takes time to write an award-winning scholarship proposal. This is the basis of scholarship. Apart from your